Now I'm going to show you examples of 15 and 20-minute cities around the world and what they look like. Okay, so the 15-minute city, nurturing communities for smarter cities. So the term smart city has a different meaning for different people. For most, it conjures up a vision of a technologically advanced metropolises where citizens rely on smart gadgets to go out and about their lives. For others, the smart city concept describes government initiatives based on big data technology and intelligent processes that improve the quality of life of citizens' residents. These aren't incorrect definitions, but they are just two sides of a multifaceted approach to urban development. Technology and data are essential in building blocks for creating a smart city, but it's a city residents that can help enact the biggest changes. By introducing projects that focus on improving the lives of individuals and communities, smart cities can begin to grow on their own. One of the most talked about methods of transforming a city into a smaller city is by introducing a 15-minute neighborhood. More commonly known as the 15-minute city or even a 20-minute city, these strategies focus on improving the lives of residents by making the city more accessible to everyone. So in Melbourne, in the city of Melbourne, they rely on these features. So basically, there needs to be a local shopping center, local health facility, local schools, lifelong learning opportunities, local playgrounds and parks, green streets and spaces, community gardens, sport and recreation facilities, safe spaces, affordable housing, ability to age in place, housing diversity, walkability, safe cycling networks, local public transport, well connected to public transport jobs and services within the region, and local employment opportunities. So a 15-minute city is an urban planning strategy that is aimed at improving the quality of life for city dwellers. In short, the strategy focuses on meeting the needs of citizens by giving the residents the access to everything they could need within a 15-minute radius of their home. Workplaces, schools, healthcare, shops and restaurants, leisure facilities and parks should be accessible to all members of the community, all within 15 minutes walking distance. Some cities are championing. Some cities are looking at 20-minute city program, but the principle is the same. It just has a wider radius. Historically, cities evolved with clear separations between industrial, commercial, and residential zones. The cost of separation was longer transit times and dependence on private vehicles and public transport for getting to and from work. And so historically, this means like the past 70 years, or maybe 40 years. The past 40 years or so. Today, cities have evolved further and the industry has moved to the outskirts, so there is no longer a need for clear separation between commercial and residential areas, yet the infrastructure still remains. This means that residents are still dependent on private and public transport to meet their needs. It's important to repurpose the roads into pedestrian and bicycle-friendly zones in a practical way to encourage more residents to ditch their cars in favor of transport methods. Narrowing roads, widening the sidewalks, installing bicycle lanes, and improving public transport infrastructure is at the heart of the 15-minute city project. And so by giving citizens safer walkways, cycling paths, and more public transport options, it's possible to phase out car reliance. This is important because studies have found that most urban car usage is impractical anyway. One study, so let's have a look at Amsterdam over here. How it was transformed.
In our inner city on the canals, which is a World Heritage, there are lots of parked cars there. Maybe up to 30 to 40% of all public space is being taken up by parked cars. So when the elections were coming up in 2018, I said, well, I make you a promise, Amsterdam, and I will remove 10,000 parking spaces from the city center. And it's an arbitrary number, of course, but it sounded good and it sounded like a lot, and it is a lot. And we somehow won the elections. I don't know if the causal effect is only on this issue. It was very recognizable for a lot of voters.
Yeah, in a way, Amsterdam is not really suitable for cars. So I think it's a great idea. And at the end, it promotes interaction on the streets, it promotes cycling, it promotes walking.
Funny thing is, I I read about this, but I didn't read about it in the Dutch press. I read about it, I think, on Twitter from you guys. It's not a big deal here.
It's really strange when you take a boat trip in the Amsterdam Canal that the first thing you see are the fronts of cars and not the houses behind them themselves. And there's a lot of public support for it to make like the canals parking free and to make the smaller streets more habitable for people.
If you look at roads, they're similar like fences. It really divides a neighborhood, so it would be nicer to mingle more and to meet more and to move more. It also gives you the opportunity to, to say to your kids, play outside, because there's more space.
Maybe have more bike parking, maybe have more greens or little greens, maybe have more park benches on the sides of the canal. We have a pilot project in the Franse Halsbuurt where we took away in one small neighborhood all the parking spaces, and you can see what happens.
It's very nice. I'm very happy with these. They're old-fashioned roses, don't you think? It's so funny, I can't show you how it was before, but if you go to Google, you can go like 8 years before, so you can see how it was. I don't know the name in English. They planted some trees. And look, and the little flowers, I love it. So everybody is doing what they like. What we see now in the streets is the temporary design of the street. So what we will do is, together with the city, we will make plans for the future. So every neighbor can tell what they would like to have in the streets, and they will make a sort of a new plan and fix it, I think in 1 year.
In a way, a street becomes like a park, and you really want to take care of that, because and it's all of a sudden it's like public space where you belong to, it's yours again.
So you can see all these bicycles standing here on the streets. They were practically placed against the houses and against the windows, so it was hard to walk on the pavement. And now we put them here, and look at it. People
all of a sudden want gardens again or more greenery, so yeah, it becomes a community more.
It's like a half park, half urban setting, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. If you think about streets, always having cars there.
In here there are like 2,000 worms living to help us to compost the stuff without smell. You use the compost for the plants, for the little gardens and stuff like that. It's changed completely. And so we have much more air, we have space, we have children playing in the streets. Yeah, it's better.
We need more room for bikes and pedestrians and little electric vehicles and electric cargo bikes and a million other things.
We feel that a city is a biotope for people and should be the best place for people to be in, and also the safest and the cleanest. And you have a maximum number of parking permits that we give out. And I want to lower that maximum number of parking permits. People move all the time, so people move out of the city and move into the city. And right now we don't have any waiting list for parking permits whatsoever. So I want to have a waiting list for parking permits. If we reduce the number of parking permits that we issue, we can abolish a lot of the parking spaces as well.
The benefits, the health benefits, basically, they're going to walk more, the air quality is going to change, and the climate is going to improve. The financial benefits. Environmentally conscious neighborhoods are also able to command higher property values in less desirable areas than those in less desirable areas. Gentrification is a double-edged sword, however, as it's important that communities aren't forced out by rising prices. Residents and businesses alike will enjoy improved economic circulation within their neighborhood. Businesses in particular will experience an increased and loyal customer base, all thanks to the 15-minute city area. On a personal level, citizens will be able to save a significant amount of money, which is the cost of the car and its petrol. Community benefits. So people will find themselves, they're safer, people can walk more, and basically they will be happier. And they will be active in a lot of outdoor activities at the same time, and they get to meet more. And it's also at these communities at the height of the pandemic, they have come together to help one another. They found the real worth of cultivating strong community spirit to become clearer, and there was more social cohesion and inclusivity. Now here is an example of how Paris is planning to become a 15-minute city. in urban permaculture, we design for the following. We design for food, production of food in the city or near the city, in allotment schemes, in CSA schemes, create farmers markets, box schemes in homes, surplus exchange to give other countries. Then we design our homes, the shelter, new energy efficient buildings, biomaterials, well planned, good layout, green roof. We insulate, we incorporate in appropriate technology and green up the place as much as we can. The human scale neighborhoods, housing clusters, they should have shared facilities of heat, light, laundries and gardens, community co-interdependence. Now, obviously with the pandemic, we try to make these things within the house itself, and try to reduce the shared spaces within the community if you want to create something that's pandemic proof. So everything is present within a house, and the sharing is probably like between 2 houses maximum. Work local people and self-employment, and building communities with creating opportunities for the economy, and empowering the local economy, decentralization of power, culture, and economy. So we build from bottom up. So several town centers develop clusters of facilities around squares. So walkability first, horses, cycling, and then we question the public transport in that section. We really don't need cars. In where we live, if we have everything close to us. So we want to plan our neighborhoods to have good transportation in form of walkability, to rely on renewable energy. We want our neighborhoods to make food, and we want the people to connect together. And so here is an example of a landscape architecture urban design planning form that recreated a traditional urban framework to arrange mixed land uses, buildings, circulation, and parking. Circulation means moving in and out. But again, there are many shapes that you can take from nature. I think the challenge that I want you to do is I want you to even design better than other built areas, because the thing with architects and all of these landscape designers is that they don't know what biomimicry is. And now you know what biomimicry is. Now you can utilize this space and the genius and use the genius of nature in dividing space efficiently. So use that in designing your built your map. Over here, this is the view of the city, how it was transformed. This is an eco-village. And so this is a place for people to apply permaculture. So eco-villages are basically, they have a place to grow food, the place for animals, solar panels, material store, workshop, kitchen, shared kitchen. Usually in eco-villages, they have shared kitchens, conference center, cabins, reception and school. This is where they all go in eating area, cinema, stage. I've been to 3 eco-villages. But the problem with eco-villages, I mean, it's like living in a bubble. If during the pandemic, it needs to be isolated 100% so that the transfer of viruses doesn't, occur. But the shared spaces, I don't think it's a good idea now. It's best to have some places for people to meet, but laundry and food and these kind of things, they need to be, and catching water and growing. These things, they need to be found independently in homes, so people can survive and protect themselves and isolate when they need to.